The most important things to think about and to learn is good buoyancy control. The better your buoyancy, the more enjoyable your dives. The less air you consume, the safer the dive is. You won't touch any of the beautiful, delicate aquatic reef, but you can still come close enough to enjoy it. So there are so many reasons why good buoyancy is important. And wherever you are, you always hear it: buoyancy, 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 buoyancy. So you might find out on your first dive or second dive that your buoyancy is not going to be that good. It might be, but you'll probably be a bit all over the place. And it's tricky in the beginning, I really have to admit. Actually, I was really bad in buoyancy on my first diving experiences. My instructor called me a yo-yo diver. You know the yo-yo? I was going up and down all the time. And I was trying to control my buoyancy with my jacket, with my BCD, by you can put air into your BCD and release air. If you get too much, your instructor will practice this a lot with you. And I was like inflating and deflating and breathing in and right and left and all over the place. And I felt so bad about it, especially because some of the other students, they were just so good, right? Was I a bad diver? Would I never have a chance? Well, look at me now, and I'm a course director. So you just get better over time. It is the same thing as learn to ride a bicycle. The first time is like, if you can still remember it, it's like, oh my God, it's like almost impossible. And then you go to sleep. That's when we learn. The next time a little bit better, next time a little bit better. Before you know it, you're on a bicycle going to a city, and you're seeing all these things happening at the same time and reacting on the traffic at exactly the same time. And that's the same with buoyancy. So if you are not so good on your first diving experience, don't worry about it. Keep practicing. Now, what we're trying to achieve is what we call neutral buoyancy. So if this is the bottom and this is the surface and this is you, so your head and your legs, then we're trying to be like in this position and then, like kick and then sort of glide over the dive side. Kick, glide, and look at pretty stuff. Kick, glide, really chilled. And slow. That's it. What you don't want is that you're like bumping into the floor, the bottom, reef, whatever, and then you have to swim yourself up, stirring all up the sand. You might be floating up all the time, which is also not good. It might be boats, or you might have to swim down using a lot of energy. So you really want to sort of have the neutral buoyancy. And remember what I said, we achieve that while we displace the same amount of weight than what we weigh. But how much is that? With all your equipment on, it's really hard, right, to calculate. So that's why it's more like a feeling. And on your first dives, you're going to be practicing this buoyancy a lot with your instructor, and then once you get that feeling, he will take you closer to the reef and you will see more things. So on your first dive experience, if you might not see that much aquatic life yet, don't be too disappointed. It's probably for a reason, because you have to learn buoyancy a bit first before we can enjoy the reef. The good thing about this is that your dives will always get better. So 50 dives are better than the first dive, and 100 dives are better than 50, and 3,000 dives are better than 100 dives, because you just keep improving this balance and feeling to the point you almost become like the Matrix under the water, and you just adjust buoyancy by just thinking about it. It's awesome. If you do find neutral buoyancy, what happens when we breathe in? We expand our lungs a little bit, we displace more water, and we're going upwards. And every exhale, we actually make our lung a bit smaller, we displace a bit less water, and we start to sink if we're neutrally buoyant. So we really want to control our buoyancy mostly with our lungs. So we're swimming and we breathe in and out and in and out. That's how we want to control our buoyancy. If you find yourself breathing in, but you're still like really going down to the bottom, then we need to have a bit of air in our BCD. And the reason why this is happening is because you're probably going to have some weights on your weight belt or in your BCD pocket. You can integrate them in most BCDs like this to help you get down in the beginning. Never overweight yourself, that's really bad, but just maybe, a little bit of weight can help you to get down. So then we're slightly negatively buoyant, and it is harder then to find that neutral buoyancy just with your lungs. And that's where this BCD jacket comes into place. You just add a bit of air, like that. You can also do it orally if you want to, but this is easier. And then your BCD now starts to displace a little bit more water. So now we have neutral buoyancy, and then with our breathing in and out, we can control it a bit better. You might have to put a bit more air into it and a bit more, but if you keep pressing it, you're just going to float up to the surface. Or it's a signal that you put too much weight on you, which is not good too. So a little bit is okay, not too much. If you accidentally do put too much air in your BCD and you start to float up, which is very common in the beginning when you dive, don't worry too much too, because it's also designed to let air out with this button. So you just put it up as high as possible and you go, and then all this air will come out here, and then while exhaling you sink down slowly again. Do make sure that you equalize again when that happens. This whole floating up and down will happen a lot on your dive number 1 for most people. Again, don't worry, your instructor is there to give you great tips, and once you get that feeling, it's a pretty awesome feeling, I can tell you, and it gets you really close to outer space. Like, you know, you're weightless, you're almost flying. You see a lot of people, I like to do it too sometimes, like we like to spread our hands like this sometimes, and we just go to the water like that. I know it's geeky, but I love it. It's just you're a bird in outer space. You're an astro bird. Okay, that was too geeky.